You're listening to the Erica and McAfee podcast, a faith-based podcast for Black women and women of color to share stories of grief and loss due to miscarriage, infant loss, and stillbirth, with journeys of trying to conceive and infertility. Welcome to episode 18 of the Erica and McAfee podcast. Today's podcast is brought to you by the Honey Pot Company. Did you know that there was a Black-owned, plant-based feminine care company? The Honey Pot Company's goal is to educate, support, and provide women around the world with the tools and resources that promote feminine health and wellness. I was first introduced to the Honey Pot Company through a Curlbox body, and I received their 3-in-1 sensitive wipes. I love them so much I had to repurchase. To learn more about the Honey Pot Company and to get a discount on products, visit ericaandmcafee.com/honey for more information. In today's episode, Dr. Tiffanie Williams shares her lost story of son Liam, who was born still due to an incompetent cervix. Dr. Williams is a licensed clinical social worker and has provided mental health services for over 8 years. She is defined by her strength, resilience, tenacity, quick wit, ability to make others laugh, and loyalty to family and close friends. The Liam Lives Foundation, Incorporated, was founded in November 28, 2016. It is a faith-based, nonprofit charitable organization which seeks to provide counseling and supportive services to families who have suffered from pregnancy and infant loss due to early miscarriage, stillbirth, preterm birth, neonatal, and postnatal death. She hopes to use her personal experience with pregnancy loss and her knowledge in the field of mental health and health sciences in order to increase awareness surrounding pregnancy loss and infant death and its impact on families. Ultimately, she hopes that she will be used by God to draw all closer to Him. She is a willing vessel ready to show the world God's favor over her life, even in the midst of tragedy. Well, thank you, Tiffanie, for being a part of the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. So we're going to go ahead and jump right on in. So tell everyone about yourself, a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Okay. My name is Tiffanie Williams. I am a native of Jacksonville, Florida. Been here all my life. I work in mental health. I received my master's degree in social work and became licensed. So I'm a licensed clinical social worker. And I later obtained my doctorate degree in health science. Mm-hmm. And right now, what I do is I assess mental health patients that are in crisis and are either under involuntary commitment or are seeking inpatient treatment. So that's what I do right now. I assess mental health patients.
Awesome. So let's go into your lost story. Let's start from the beginning for us, and you can go into as much detail as you want or a general overview, but let's talk about your loss.
Okay. So I have to start with my pregnancy was very, very difficult. Mm-hmm. I would say around between 6 to 8 weeks, I had started having, normal nausea and vomiting. And I realized within that time frame that I just don't know that this is normal. I had always heard about, women having nausea and vomiting and all that kind of stuff there, but it just seemed like mine was a little too much. So, mm-hmm. And going to my appointments and things like that, I would tell the nurse practitioner that, I'm just not feeling well. I'm not keeping anything down, And, she would just say things like, oh, that's kind of indicative of a strong pregnancy, yada, yada, yada. So I trusted in what she said and continued until I was almost debilitated. I couldn't get up in the morning. I couldn't function. I couldn't do my normal ADLs, activities of daily living, meaning I was struggling to brush my teeth. I was struggling to take showers. I was continuously nauseous and I was continuously vomiting. There was everything that I put in my mouth, it came back out. And if I didn't eat, I was still vomiting. So, either liquids, water, I mean, it got so to the point where I was vomiting stomach acid. I mean, we're talking about yellow and green. And I want to be graphic because that's just how bad it was. Were
you ever hospitalized for dehydration because of that?
Yes. Later on, I ended up getting hospitalized. Actually, prior to that, around week 10, I believe, the nurse practitioner was like, okay, well, this is a little more than what I thought, a little more than a strong pregnancy, quote unquote. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to put you on short-term disability. So I actually was out of work probably a total of 8 weeks throughout my pregnancy because I just couldn't keep anything down. Mm-hmm. It was horrible. I could not. Mm-hmm. Yes, I could not function. So it got to the point where I had gone to the ER twice, and the only thing they did was give me intravenous fluids, intravenous anti-nausea medication, gave me a script for nausea medications to go home, and I should follow up with my OB. I would feel okay for like a day. And when I say a day, I mean probably like 8 to 12 hours because half of that time I was asleep anyway. Mm-hmm. So I was utterly physically drained. Mm-hmm. I was mentally drained. And I just felt like, what in the world is going on? This is not what it's supposed to be. Mm-hmm. Finally got to the point where I had a visit and I told them, I said, listen, I cannot keep going to the ER and getting fluids I can't keep doing this. By this time, I had lost like 15 pounds.
Oh my goodness.
And I lost it quick. It wasn't just a 15 pounds. I had lost it quick.
Like within weeks because of all of the excess.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah. And like you had mentioned, I was severely dehydrated. I was hyperkalemic. Mm. I was starting to form kidney stones, UTI, all of the things that surround, not getting proper nutrients and fluids.
Right.
So I ended up being hospitalized. They kept me for about 3 days. This was maybe around week 14 or so.
Okay.
And so once I got out of the hospital, there was plans for like a in-home nurse to come in and actually have like a nausea pump hooked up to me so that I could have continuous medication flowing. Mm-hmm. And but that never actually came into fruition. I started feeling better roughly 15 after that hospitalization. And so I had decided, well, maybe, I'll try going back to work because by this time, I was tired of laying on the couch. I put a permanent dent in my couch. I was tired of looking at the ceiling. I was tired of looking at, I felt like I needed to get out because, of course, around this time, I was starting to really get depressed. Right. Very depressed. So I was like, well, maybe if I get back to work and, get back in the swing of things with me, feel a little better, I'll be okay. So I went back to work. And, of course, I was still a little sick, but not as bad. I was still vomiting and all that. And I wasn't there for I was probably there for work for maybe like 2 weeks when I had another appointment. And this appointment was my anatomy scan appointment. Okay. At 18 weeks. And we had the regular appointment. The lady is checking me out. Everything looks good. Then all of a sudden, she starts pressing on my stomach. Mm. And I could see on the monitor that, I could see my son. I could see, my body or whatever. But it looked like I was looking at a balloon. And at the tip of a balloon was like poking through an opening. And the tip of that balloon had like this debris, almost looked like a little bit of debris floating around. And each time she pressed on my stomach, it would like push through, and then this flutter of debris would like almost like snowflakes. Mm-hmm. And so she was like, okay, let me go get the doctor. Now, you know when they say, let me go get the doctor. Mm-hmm. Like, I start freaking out.
Right.
Because I'm already in a sensitive, emotional state because of everything that I've gone through throughout my whole entire pregnancy. And, you know, it seemed like I was getting over a hump of being sick the whole time. And now here it is, some bad news.
So up until this point, they hadn't diagnosed you with the severe, nausea?
Yes, sorry. They had diagnosed me with hyperemesis gravidarum. But at week 10, when I went to that appointment, and we had basically said, okay, yeah, you need to, you can't go to work anymore. That's when they had diagnosed me with that. And what they were doing was they were trying me on different nausea medications.
Oh, okay. So you were just going through the gamut of nausea medication up until that point. I got you.
Again, suppositories. She figured if it was a suppository, it would work better because, you know, if it goes through that way, it gets into the bloodstream faster. Mm-hmm. I don't even remember all of them, but I know there was like 4 or 5 different ones. To include like prenatal vitamins that had like B12, and B12 was supposed to help, almost like, I forgot that one medication. I forgot, but the point is, none of it was working. None of it was working. And she was like, "Oh my gosh, have you tried this?" No, it's not working, lady. Like I'm dying over here.
You literally are suffering. Yeah,
dying. Mm-hmm. Suffering and dying. Like, the only way I get relief is when I'm sleeping, and I sleep like 12 to sometimes 18 hours a day, only because I was tired. I was physically tired. I didn't have any energy to do anything. Mm-hmm. So by this time they had, long diagnosed me with the HG. So we're in this appointment, and the doctor comes in, he takes a look, and here it is. So, Tiffanie, you are 2.5 centimeters dilated. Yes.
Oh, wow.
18 weeks and 1 day at my anatomy scan, where I'm supposed to be all happy because we're supposed to be getting the gender and planning for the gender reveal. You are 2.5 centimeters dilated. And at that point, I've had panic attacks in the past because I've dealt with anxiety. Mm-hmm. But I just felt like my whole insides were crumbling. And I could not breathe, and I was hot and cold at the same time. Mm-hmm. And I just felt like the whole world was crashing in on me. Wow. And it was almost like the doctor was talking, and then all of a sudden it turned into wah, 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 wah. And he told me, I do remember, he said, Tiffanie, there's a 10% chance that this pregnancy will, go to viability. And in my mind, knowing research, 10% to me is nothing. That, give me 50-60, but 10% is just, that means nothing to me. Mm-hmm. And so he told me that I had 2 choices. Mm-hmm. I could, I'm sorry. No. At this point in time, what they were going to do, I'm sorry, I'm getting my story mixed up. What they were going to do was rush me down to labor and delivery. Mm-hmm. They rushed me down to labor and delivery. They monitored me overnight to make sure that I wasn't having any early contractions. Okay. And to also make sure there was no infection since my cervix was open.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And to see if I would be a good candidate for a cerclage. Yes. So the cerclage, of course, is the thing that they do to close your cervix back up.
Right.
My situation was a bit difficult one because my son's amniotic sac was already poking out. So what I had saw on the screen
was them actually, she was pushing on your stomach and she saw your amniotic sac going in and out of your cervix. Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was already hanging out, and it's so sensitive that, any touch or break, anything can make it break. And of course, once it breaks, that's it. So overnight, this was when I feel like that's when a change, the cylinders were starting to click this time. And so, I'm a woman of faith. I do believe in God. I am a Christian. Mm-hmm. And at this point in time, I was just praying, and I was like, God, this child I want. I want this child. Please, let it be so. Let this child come healthy and happy. However, let your will be done.
Right.
Basically. Mm-hmm. And so I had total faith that whatever happened was God's will. I went into surgery. I had the cerclage done. It was a success. It was very difficult based on what the doctor said.
Yeah, because your cervix was already open, so it's harder for them to pull it versus if it was starting to open just a little bit. The reason why I know all of this is because I ended up having to get a cerclage as well with my son. But with my daughter, I had something very similar happen where I had an incompetent cervix and I went into full labor. Mm-hmm. So there was no stopping me when I got to the hospital. I had to have the baby. So.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if I could have, if only I had done this, if I had only saw the sonogram and paid more attention, why didn't I feel it? And there's nothing, and trust me, I had done my little research. There's nothing you could do. It's one of those things where you happen upon it. Mm-hmm. And there are some who are fortunate enough to happen upon it early enough. Unfortunately, there are a lot of others who don't.
Right.
So it's just one of those things where it's a very unfortunate situation, and you can only prevent it by it actually happening.
Yes, exactly. So, exactly. Which is in the future, of course, like you said, in the future, like with my son, I made sure that they were diligent in monitoring my cervix. So when it was come time, I could get a cerclage, and I got a cerclage way earlier just so I would be safe, that I could carry him longer. But yeah, I wouldn't have never known it unless I would have had a miscarriage or in the second trimester.
Exactly. So it was a success. That was. I had that appointment Thursday, stayed over Friday. I was discharged on Saturday. I had a follow-up appointment at my OB, which was a regular appointment anyway, on Tuesday. She checked me out. Like, okay, the cerclage is in place. It looks good. There's no fluids or anything like that. I had a follow-up appointment with the, we call it the ROC, Regional Obstetric Consultant, and they do all the high-risk pregnancies.
Okay.
So I had a follow-up appointment with them because they were the ones who, do the anatomy scans and ultimately did my cerclage on that following Thursday. And they did the same scan all over again. And come to find out, the cerclage had failed, and I was dilated about a half a centimeter to a centimeter.
With the cerclage already in?
It's the cerclage. And they showed me how the cerclage was there, and the way the doctor described it, he was like, I'm not sure what's going on, but it's almost like your cervix is like butter. Ooh. So it was sliding through the
sutures, essentially, right?
Yeah. The suture, there we go. And of course, it was like a repeat all over again. I had another panic attack. I felt like I was going to fall on the floor. And by this time, I'm just like, I don't even care no more. I don't care no more. I'm just done. Like, not done with my son, but just done mentally, because it's like this entire pregnancy has just been such a drain, and it's just ups and downs and ups and downs. And I was done. And so this is where I was getting confused this particular time. He said, okay, well, you have two different options. He said, you can, abort him, which I guess they would make me go into labor, or you could go home and wait and see what happens. Because eventually it's going to happen. Each cervix is going to open. We do not recommend getting another cerclage. There's nothing else we can do. So he said, I'm going to speak with your OB, give her my recommendations, and you guys can talk it out as to whatever you want to do. My OB echoed what the doctor was saying, and she said, yeah, they're right. There's nothing else you can do, but whatever you want me to do, I have no problem with helping out. So, of course, this is a waiting game because I was not going to abort my child. So I said, well, if I'm going to be waiting, I might as well wait in a hospital. And 7.
Right.
And I remember getting up. I went to the bathroom, and I was still, talking to God and praying and stuff. And it was clear as day. The Holy Spirit said, Tiffanie, you're not. It was almost like He was saying, you're not being honest. And it hit me. And I was like, wow, I'm not being honest because, and I'm just going to be very, very open with everybody listening to this because I know there's somebody who's been in this situation, but I was not married. I was a single woman with somebody who, was not destined for me. And so what I felt was conviction because the situation that I got myself into, I should have not been in the first place. So whereas instead of coming to God and saying, forgive me for what I had done, I was kind of glazing it over and saying, just help me anyway. Help me bring this situation to fruition. Now I know my God can do either, but I just felt like the Holy Spirit was telling me, you need to be honest in this. Like, don't come to me hiding. Well, I can see it anyway, but don't come to me hiding. Be honest. And so, things switched at that point in time. And even though I had the whole mentality of God, whatever your will is, let it be done. This particular time, I had to actually say, forgive me for what I have done. I am so sorry for what I have done. And now that I'm being open and honest with you, I am fully on board with whatever your will is. And I never forget, I was in the bathroom and I said, God, I yield. I yield. And so I think at that point in time is when, He took over the whole situation. I was there for another day and they discharged me on Monday. I came home that night and I started bleeding a little bit. And I remember laying on the couch and I just started crying. And my parents were setting me up and my dad said, baby girl, what's wrong? I said, Daddy, I'm tired. I'm tired. And I heard a voice, and I don't know if this is God or what. I heard a voice that said, Mommy, I know you're tired. It's okay.
Wow.
And so I went to sleep, woke up the next morning. And, I was just mulling around. It just so happened that there were a lot of people texting me that particular day. And there were some people that I hadn't talked to in a very long time, like an old coworker that had, called to check in on me and stuff. It was just really weird. And I started noticing Liam wasn't moving. So normally around this time, whenever I ate, he would move. Most of the time he would move during the nighttime. But I think that particular night before, I was under so much stress that I really didn't feel him. But I knew that when I ate, he moved. And so I remember, kind of shaking my tummy son, what's going on? What's going on? And he wasn't moving. And then I started getting this urge to use the bathroom.
Oh, man.
And I thought I was constipated because, of course, being on all those anti-nausea medications, it makes you constipated.
Mm-hmm.
So, I had this urge to use the bathroom. It just so happened where I was at my sister's house. They put me up at my sister's house, and she was out of town, so I was home by myself. And she came back home for a visit, and I ended up going to the bathroom for like the third time. My sister had come home. She was there for about 10 minutes, and then I went to the bathroom for like the third time, and that's when my water broke. So I'm like on the toilet, and my water just, and it was like, of course, gushing water, gushing blood all over the place. And I just screamed to my sister, my water broke, call the police.
Call the police.
And, yes, please, help me.
Help me out, yes.
That moment was so, I don't know how to describe it, because it was almost like a moment of chaos, but a moment of peace, because I knew it was over. But it was also the reality of it's over. You're not gonna bring it. The pain and everything, the suffering, the up and down, and all that is over, but your son is not going to make it. And long story short, I was brought into the hospital. I delivered and all of that. It was a very, very sad time. I don't really remember a lot about that time. Pieces pop back every now and again. I'm like, oh yeah, I do remember that. But I ended up, my nurse, her name is Amy. She ended up speaking some words of encouragement to me, and it seemed like when she spoke, the gravity of weight in the room lifted. And it was almost like I was meant to listen to whatever this lady had to say. And I kind of snapped out of my grief. I listened to what she said, and it was like, wow, this lady here is just really imparting in me. And she was a great nurse, great person, really just impacted me and really helped me in, I believe, seeing my vision, which was for the foundation. So I'm just going to skip past all of the hospital stuff. I was in the hospital. They let me hold him and all of that. I was discharged the next day. And I think this is where, of course, the groundwork for Liam Lives Foundation was starting to, pick up. And we're out and about. First of all, I would say I'm an A-type personality individual. When I say I'm going to do something, I do it. I don't just settle for less. Everything has to be done to the best. And, I'm one of those type of people, I want to get it done.
Right.
And so I was treating my grief like that, one. Two, I was treating getting my son's arrangement like that. So my mom, you need to, rest, whatever. We can meet with the people on this day. And I'm just like, no, we're meeting tomorrow. I wanted to get it done. And I was being very snippety, about the whole situation. So, of course, the day I get discharged from the hospital, we're out trying to look for something to bury my son in. Now, he was only 10.6 ounces. So he was a itty-bitty, 10 inches long. He was an itty-bitty baby, and there was just nothing that would fit him. And I'm strolling around in a little cart, a little motorized cart in Walmart, and we're trying to find something to bury my child in, and I can't find anything.
Right.
And that hit me so hard. And you would think that was something really simple or just nothing. But to a mother who lost her child, a perfect child, to something that because her body was unable to keep that child, to house that child, it feels like a huge failure. I felt like a failure. And here it is. I've lost my child because my body failed him, and I can't even find anything to bury him in and, have a proper burial. Right. That thing hit me so hard. I cried. Me and my sister, we were in Carter's, of all places. Oh. And I'm just in all these baby clothes. Oh, and not only am I hurt because I can't buy my baby any of these clothes ever, I'm hurt because I can't even find anything to bury him in. Right. And I just bawled. I started boohoo crying. My sister was like, let's just go. So after that, we had the funeral and everything. And luckily, I was blessed to have a family and connections to be able to bury my son without even having much money come out of my pocket. Wow. The only thing I paid for was his marker. Right. And I was thinking to myself, if I were an individual in a situation where I did not have that, I would be hurt because I know I long to have that marker placed on his gravesite because I felt like it represented another hump or another hurdle I had to jump over in my grief process, but it also said, okay, this is finality here, right. And my son is here. But what if a mom didn't have that, And I looked at all of the babies that were around him and how I can only imagine they had been there, days, weeks, if not months before him, and they still didn't have a marker. And how would that dad feel about that? Mm-hmm. And so all of these thoughts are going through my head. I had a bit of a mental breakdown where I basically grabbed my keys and my purse, jumped in my car, and I drove all the way to North Carolina. Cut my phone off. I didn't tell nobody. Everybody was worried about me. Where are you? They thought I had done, hurt myself or something like that. But I did that because I felt I needed to escape. And I felt like if I didn't do that, I was going to kill myself. That's just it, point blank, period. But after I had the mental breakdown and I came back home, I stayed with my dad because my family was like, you're not staying by yourself.
We need to keep our eyes on you, right?
We need to keep tabs on you, ma'am. Yes. So I stayed with my dad, and in that time, I had an urge to pray, to fast, and so I fasted for a day, and I just prayed, God, show me what it is that you want me to do with this particular situation. Because prior to that, I had a conversation with my dad, and he was like, I was just sharing with him how I just felt so bad, and I was beating myself up and stuff. And he was like, Tiffanie, you made a mistake. It's okay. Just from this, ask God, what is it that, he would want you to do from this situation? And if, how are you going to make your son proud? Right. And that struck me, and I was like, oh, wow, okay, let me go ahead and go into prayer. So I fasted for a day, and clear as day, I was in my dad's living room, because, of course, I was still in jail by this time, in my dad's living room, and I was writing, and I had been writing, I had been journaling.
Oh, okay. That helped you. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and I remember looking out the window and just sitting and thinking, and a loud voice said, Liam lives. And it was like electricity shot through me. And I wrote it down. And then all of a sudden, it was almost like I was in a trance. Like I started just writing stuff. And everything that I wrote was the blueprint for the Liam Lives Foundation. Wow. And everything that I wrote was, because I remember looking back at everything that I wrote clearly, and I said, I can do this. Like everything that I wrote had something to do with either my experience or my education and what I do for a living.
Right.
So The foundation, I had started, structuring what we would do. And the Liam Live Foundation was actually incorporated on November the 28th of 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And what we do is we provide pregnancy and support services and therapeutic services to, families and individuals who experience pregnancy loss or miscarriage or, infant death. And so our 6 programs are the support groups, which we have monthly.
Mm-hmm.
Then we provide individual counseling services, which actually is going to be up and running fully December of this year, perfectly. Let's cross our fingers on that one. We have the Angel Baby Gown program, which hasn't fully run out. We still have our volunteers who are creating those gowns.
Mm-hmm.
We have that. We have our memory box program, which we provide to individuals who, experience a pregnancy loss or a miscarriage. And we also give them out to the local hospitals and OBGYN clinics, because one of the things I found out, too, is that with the memory box, I received one for Liam when he passed away.
What was in the box? What was in the memory box that you received?
Yeah, so it has all of the keepsakes. So when I had Liam, they had somebody come in. The chaplain actually came in, took pictures of us.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a photo album book where I could put all the pictures in there. They gave me clay imprints of his hand, his feet, little things, little knickknacks like, little charms, crosses, his blanket.
Oh yeah, so they did something similar for me for an actual box that they would make. But yeah, they did something very similar. So I still have all that, modes of the feet, modes of the hands of both my losses. Yeah, I still have all of that.
Yes, ma'am. So they gave me that, and that's what we give to all of the individuals who've experienced, a miscarriage or pregnancy loss. But what I was saying is that, when you're in the hospital, it's easy to get one. But for a woman who just found out she's pregnant and then had a miscarriage, what does she get? For the woman who, was sent home, took a pill and was sent home to abort at home, at 10 weeks or 8 weeks or whatever, what does she get? She doesn't get anything. So my thought was, okay, well, we need to reach out to all women, because all loss matters. No matter how long or how far along you were, all loss matters. So we have it to where, people can visit our website. We mail the memory boxes off. And my thing is I don't care what you do with it. As long as you have something to memorialize your child, whether you have one picture, whether you have just the pregnancy test, if you want to put it in that box, that's fine.
Right.
But our box is a little more generalized because we didn't want it to be a box just catered to women who have actually birthed a child.
Right.
So we still have like the photo album book, just in case they had sonogram photos. But, we put a journal in there and a pen because, for me, writing was very therapeutic after Liam passed. We put Kleenex to catch the tears, chapstick, because, when we cry and we're emotional, sometimes our lips get dry. We put, and it all matters.
Yeah, it does. You're right. It all does matter.
We put bubbles in there just in case if they want to do a memorial service or something like that, they could do it with bubbles. We put a balloon in there that says forever in our hearts. So if they want to do a balloon release, they can have that one balloon that says forever in our hearts. We put a charm in there, what are those little bags called? Organza bag.
Mm-hmm.
Put an organza bag in there just in case if they are a family that is in the hospital, if they want to cut a lock of the baby's hair, they could put it in there. A candle to do candlelight vigils, and then maybe another little trinket and a stuffed bear. So yeah, those are mostly the things that we put into our memory boxes, and we send them off to hospitals. Here we sent boxes to Shands, Jacksonville, or U.S. Health here. a couple of OBGYN clinics, and we've sent boxes to individuals in Georgia, Florida, Louisiana, Indiana. Oh gosh, I can't think of all those states right now. South Carolina. They've been everywhere, and then we ended up sending 15 to an individual in South Africa.
Oh, wow.
And she has her own organization where she is working with women who have experienced pregnancy loss as well. So we sent some over to her.
Awesome.
And we're working with someone right now to bring the memory boxes to a military base in Italy. So
nice.
We're like expanding, and that's the whole, vision, is to expand around the world to make sure that pregnancy and infant loss is something that is in the forefront everywhere, not just here in Jacksonville, Florida, but everywhere. So I know I went on a tangent about the memory boxes.
No, it's good. It's good to go into detail so people could understand exactly what's in them and how impactful they'll be, for the woman, like you said, who actually birthed the child. And then even those who have experienced a miscarriage, it is still good to save and cherish and honor our babies through some type of memory. So let's talk about the event that you have coming up in November.
Okay, so November the 18th of this year, we're going to have our Liam Lives Inaugural Gala, and this is a fundraising event to raise funds, of course, and awareness about the organization, about pregnancy and infant loss, and to, raise funds for the organization so that we can continue doing the work that we do. Let's see. We will be, of course, celebrating 1 year, and at the same time celebrating Liam's birthday, which is November the 15th. And we're hoping to have a wonderful time. We are hoping to raise awareness. We're hoping to, of course, raise funds, because what we're doing is desperately needed.
Yes, ma'am.
It's desperately needed because there are so many individuals who are suffering, and it's not an understatement. Like, I've heard so many stories about women who experience so much guilt, so much depression, so many other things that can be prevented only if her loss was validated, only if she was supported, only if she got the, therapeutic support and therapeutic interventions that are out there. And so, we want to be able to celebrate that, honor that, and bring pregnancy and infant loss to the forefront, but also raise some cash.
All right.
None of this.
Yes, you gotta have the cash and the resources to run a foundation. Yes, so we will make sure we have links to all of that in the show notes, so that those of you all who are in the Jacksonville, Florida area, that you are able to support the Liam Lives Foundation. So what, any books or tools or resources that are out there you're a mental health professional, so I'm sure there's many things that are out there, but anything personally that helped you get through your loss?
I did, like I was saying before, I did a lot of writing. I did a lot of research too, and that's just like database research on incompetent cervix, what I had gone through. But as far as, edifying my spirit and bringing me to a place of peace, of course, the Bible was something that I relied on. Let's see, Forever King.
Oh, I love Diana. I had her. Diana was on episode 5 of the podcast. Yes. You all need to go back and listen to that.
Yes. I read her book, and it was almost like I sped through the book because it was just so relevant.
It wasn't it good? It had me in tears.
Yes, it was so relevant, and she broke it down, and she came from, she used the Bible as a basis everything that she had gone through, and which I really liked and I connected with.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I'm reading As Sure as Tomorrow Comes,
Mm-hmm.
which is another book by Danielle and Christopher Jones.
Mm-hmm.
I am actually almost done with that book, but it is another wonderful book about, a married couple who experienced a lot of different trials, to include the passing of their son. So a very touching book, which has helped me.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see, there's some other things that I've been reading I really can't think of right now, but
Okay.
Those are the two main books that I would say, or three main books, including the Bible, that I would say are good resources. I've dibbled and dabbled in some blogs, and I've also started my own blog. So on top of the writing, I blog as well.
Well, that always helps. Writing is my therapy as well. So journaling and writing, and it's the best thing to get it all out for me as well.
Get it all out.
Yes.
Right.
So I completely understand. Well, the last question I have is just, what encouraging or inspiring words do you have for the other lost moms that are out there?
I will always say, never sometimes we feel like when we talk about our children, we have to wait for certain times. We have to make sure people are ready. Grief is very selfish, and it is what it is. So whenever you want to talk about your child, whenever you want to get those feelings, talk about your child. Mm-hmm. Get those feelings out. Don't feel as if you have to hold your emotions to appease everybody or to make everybody else comfortable. Make people uncomfortable, because that's what makes situations like these go to the forefront. That's what makes situations like these be noticed, is when we make people uncomfortable. So make people uncomfortable and get the support you need. There are so many women like myself, like you, who are out there, who are championing this particular issue, and we would love nothing more than to snatch you up out and, and get you on our side and get your story out there, because it needs to be heard.
It does.
And sometimes it's not even about you telling your story for you; it's you telling your story for somebody else.
Yes, that's the whole point. Yes. Don't get me wrong. You'll benefit from it. Yeah, you'll benefit from sharing your story, but for sure it's going to touch somebody else. Because every time I hear, every interview that I do, I always ask God to just speak through the person I'm interviewing, but I always get something from it, and it touches me all the time. Yes. So yes, share your story. So where can we find you on social?
Okay, so me personally, of course, I'm on Facebook. I am on Instagram as well. Tiffanie Williams. It might say Tiffanie L. Williams or Dr. Tiffanie L. Williams. I'm on Instagram, Tiffany _183. I'm on LinkedIn. And for the foundation, we are also on Facebook, Liam Lives Foundation Incorporated, LIAM Lives Foundation Incorporated. We're also on Instagram. And we have a website, www.liamlivesfoundationinc.org, and that is where you can go and learn more about our programs, learn more about the executive team, more about, Liam, and, check out pictures, fundraisers that we're doing. That's where you can get the bulk of the information about the organization.
Well, thank you so much, Tiffanie, for sharing your story, sharing about your journey. A lot of people don't talk about HG, and I think that you gave us a good understanding of exactly what it is and how it affects you throughout pregnancy. Thank you for sharing your story, and thank you for sharing about the Liam Lives Foundation and your upcoming gala in November. We'll make sure that we support it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me on the podcast.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. I pray that the show was inspirational and a blessing to you. The show notes and links for today's podcast can be found on ericaandmcafee.com/podcast episodes. Now it's time for you to tell your story. Visit ericaandmcafee.com for more information on how to be a part of the show. You can follow me on social at Erica M. McAfee everywhere on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I would love for you to join the community. We need your feedback on the Erica and McAfee podcast. For those of you listening in iTunes, please go to iTunes and rate and review the show. Keep the faith, and I will talk to you next Wednesday.